Hello and welcome, everyone, to the first ever episode of our new podcast, MOMENTEEN, where, well, as the name suggests, teens discuss some topics which range from casual to maybe controversial. Today we're discussing a new topic which I've recently heard about, which is Traumacore. Now, I don't know much about this, so I'm going to pass to my colleague to tell you about this kind of topic. Will you actually introduce this?
Okay, so thank you, Abdul for this presentation. So, trauma core is, as the name suggests, is trauma with the suffix core, which is most likely used for aesthetics, like the Y2K core and these names. As before, I've heard the little papers that I've asked you on our last sessions. Most of you have wrote some trauma things, not trauma core. So I think this podcast will be a great chance to know what's trauma core and how to deal with it. Yep.
Yeah. If I'm maybe mistaken, I have kind of a brief idea about Traumacore. Is it kind of an imagery or art that is actually, that presents your traumas with kind of a cute kind of art thing? This is what the idea that I have, so I want to check with you if that's actually correct in somewhat or not.
Okay, so that's a good question. Well, trauma core for a thing, in my personal opinion, is not an aesthetics. It's more as a way to express yourself. So, in the worldwide, there are some people who maybe they still live with their abusers. Maybe they don't have a chance to, let go of that trauma. They can't afford therapy or they're too scared to afford it. And, well, they cannot deal with it in a proper way. So they'll go to the internet, which of course is a very dangerous place. In the internet, they'll find this Traumacore thing, Traumacore hashtags. There are worldwide. There's in Tumblr, there's in TikTok, Pinterest, maybe in Instagram. I didn't check. There is a whole community in Reddit, which is personally I found it very comforting because although the name suggests it's dangerous, it's weird, and the internet is a very dangerous place, as I've said, that community in Reddit is so comforting since someone might vent in it, but people there will be like, oh, it's okay, everything will be fine, please, I'll be happy today, and these kind of positive comments. Traumacore, as I said, is a way to express yourself when you are in that kind of situation where you cannot afford a proper way to cope with trauma. You go to the art.
Yeah, well, something about the expressing yourself thing, because I've already done my research. And how do you think that benefits a person? Because I do have my arguments against it. And I do think it's kind of regressive in some sorts. So I want to see, how do you think that helps a person? So you said the introduction, you already defined it, but I want to know, how do you think that like drawing something or making an image of something that traumatized you helps you?
Sure. I would like to interfere just to highlight a point here. So Ella has done a survey last time at the library. You were asked some questions, right? So the question was, what is a trauma core? And the answers were totally
Not totally related. They will just define the trauma thing, not the
Yes.
trauma core.
So trauma is something, and trauma core is something else. Before we pass to talk about how Abdul sees this trauma core process and how he's against it and his arguments, I would like to ask Ada just to clarify, so we make sure that everyone is on the same page. Like, we are talking about the same thing. What is a trauma and what is a trauma core? We need to highlight and define and make sure we have the same understanding of these two concepts, and then we can move to the discussion where you guys can give your arguments, and then we can pass to our listeners in order to participate as well.
Thank you, teacher. To answer your question, Abdul Jalil, we first have to know, is trauma core an aesthetic or not? And to know the answer for this question, we'll have to compare it to its predecessor, which is morbid. So it's not morbid, sorry, it's Marut. So Marut, as the name suggests, is a combination between two words. Morbid, which is disturbing things to put it simply, and cute. It's created by the incredible creator Nicole Doppelganger. I think that's her name. So it's a way to impress yourself more. Marut is the combination between cute things such as coquette things, pink, and something with like blood, knives, religious things. That's so Marut is just an aesthetic. That's it. It's not comforting. It's just an aesthetic. But Traumacore is a way to express yourself. The thing in Traumacore isn't that you want the product. It's not that thing. The thing comforting about Traumacore is the process itself. Okay? You understand it, right?
Well, you gave the definition, but you still
I
haven't
am
given
still
it.
confused.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
not on my part. Sorry, Amjad. Not on my part. Probably, I understand what you're trying to say, but to the other ones, let's do just a quick. Let's do a quick checkup. Who can differentiate between what is a trauma core and trauma? If you can differentiate between these two, raise your hand. See, I want to make sure that we are on the right path. So you can start with you.
Trauma and trauma core. Not yet.
Wait.
You still need elaboration, explanation.
A lot of elaboration needs to be done. So let's start with what is a trauma.
Okay.
And when we finish what is a trauma, then you can pass to what is a trauma core. And then you can describe or talk about the relationship between these two and what is the ultimate goal behind them.
Sure.
Yes.
So, trauma, as you all may know, is when you get a psychological and mental shock, whether you were little or older or in any stage of your life. It's a mental psychological shock that will leave impacts on you. So there are people who are afraid of cats, like me personally. When in a part of their life they had a bad experience with cats. That's why they are afraid of them. People are afraid of the seas. They had an experience with the sea, or they saw something. It's an experience, whether it's on internet or like you've drowned, really. It's an experience, and and that experience left a trauma, and that trauma develops phobias.
May I chip in? So basically, I can try and do my own definition. Trauma is kind of something that happened to you before that made you shocked, that actually affected your life and hindered it to some type of extent, that you feel that you've been held back by something bad that happened to you. For example, people who have been SA'd or misfortunes that happened to you or to anybody person else. Maybe your dad died. You saw your dad dying. You saw somebody dying. Maybe you went to the sea and you couldn't swim and you almost drowned. Those all are kind of traumas. Those are something that hinders your ability to do something that already is a shock for you. For example, as I said, the experience of almost drowning may make you scared of water to the level of death. As if you even touch water, even if you drink water, you drink it with hesitation.
Okay.
It makes you shocked.
Thank you. I think we're done with trauma.
Yeah.
Right?
Trauma core.
Now, what is a trauma core?
Traumacore. Let's start with word definition in grammar. Traumacore is two things. It's trauma and core. Core is a suffix, a very famous suffix, as I said, used for aesthetics, like the Y2K aesthetic.
Can you explain to me what is
What is the Y2K?
It's aesthetic.
20 years ago.
A beautiful imagery, right?
No, like الفينيات بداية الألفينيات.
بداية
الألفين.
Aesthetic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic.
Aesthetic in Arabic is علم الجماليات.
Yeah, that's what I said. Beautiful.
It's a kind of art. We all have aesthetics in novels, we have aesthetics in cinema, we have aesthetics in painting, etc.
It's like a category.
Yes.
Like when you have something, you categorize it as an aesthetic. That
It's culture.
aesthetic, yeah,
It's culture.
yeah.
The aesthetics in Morocco is not the aesthetics of Germany. The aesthetics of France is not the aesthetics of America. Everyone.
Keep going so before they lose the track again.
Yeah.
There is a point there since a while.
It's better if you define like
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so we know what's trauma and we know what's core. So trauma core is a way, I will not say an aesthetic, but it's a way to express yourself. Even though you hear the core in the name, personally, I think it's not an aesthetic. Yeah. I don't know for the Instagram users, but for Pinterest, Tumblr, and TikTok users, have you ever came across a picture? It's childhood theme. Like you see a Hello Kitty sticker, a playground, but there is weird text in it, like text with a red color, which is triggering. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It repeats, or don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me, or I may have forgot, but my body will never will. There are a lot of them in the internet. So has any of you came across it?
Yes, I have some.
Yeah. So these images are classified as traumacore. They are products. They are like the aesthetic of traumacore. Or has any of you heard any songs of Melanie Martinez? Well, Melanie Martinez, there's Crybaby, there's Dollhouse, there's a lot. These songs are traumacore, they are classified under the theme of traumacore. Why? Because they are products of trauma. While the song, the art itself, may be so uncomfortable, so weird, so no, I don't like it. Because that's the use. Traumacore, the product of traumacore is made to make you uncomfortable. It's made to make your imagination go wild. While they do give you words and everything, they do not tell you the whole story. Why? Because they make you in the place of a victim.
Good. Yeah, let me just do a double check up here. Good. So
I haven't still finished.
You haven't finished. Good. Continue, please. Take your time.
Traumacore, the production itself is not meant to make you it's not meant to make you comfortable. It's made to make you feel in the place of a victim. And for the creators of it, traumacore, or the arts that are classified under traumacore, the process of it is what they are interested in. The process of making it, because that process is a way for them to express themselves. You ask how comes that traumacore thing helps to express someone.
before we move to it, double check it. So the Traumacore is a way, just let me put it, it's a way of healing or coping with trauma.
Yeah.
فهمتوا هذه النقطة هذه ولا لا باقي؟
And expressing yourself.
And expressing yourself,
Yeah.
ولكن it is meant originally and authentically to overcome, to cope.
Yeah, to cope.
To cope. So Traumacore هو بحال العلاج ديال التراما.
Yeah.
تراما هي صدمة وقعت الإنسان في الحياة ديالو في الطفولة، في المراهقة، في إما تكون نفسية ولا تكون mental عقلية ولا تكون I don't know maybe جاية من وسط العائلة بحكم العلاقات الاجتماعية maybe I don't know stuff like this شي حاجة اللي خايبة experience اللي توتالمون خايبة بزاف. So ملي كتوقع لك ديك التراما وكتوقع لك مثلا بوحدك وكتعيش ديك التجربة بوحدك so you have these thoughts on you with yourself حتى باش you share it with the others you don't feel secured. You can't. How many children have been molested or even raped by neighbors and the members of the family but حتى واحد ما يقدر يهضر عليها. A lot. Like there is a huge number. مصرح به راه بزاف، الغير مصرح به راه كثر من اللي مصرح به. Which means trauma ولات عندنا عايشه معنا حنايا مع الانسان ديال القرن 21 حنايا عايشه معنا عادي صافي راه معنا ولات معنا trauma. There is دابا هاد الطريقه ديال Traumacore which is suggested by aesthetic, right? Who suggests Traumacore? Who's
The internet.
The internet. Okay. So the internet community الناس في الانترنت بحال هذوك اللي مشاو كرياو لنا بيتكوين ومشاو كرياو لنا الدارك ويب واللي باغيين يتحروا اللي باغيين يجيبوا لنا حاجه جديده ما مربوطاش بشي حاجه. They created for us what we call Traumacore. هاد Traumacore هي بحال واحد الوسيله جبناها باش نعالجوا بها الناس اللي تعرضوا لدوك الصدمات اللي قبل. مزيان دابا؟
اخترعوها الناس ماشي جابوها.
اخترعوها الناس like people ماشي the difference here is انه ديك Traumacore is not done بشي مؤسسه عالميه ولا بشي دوله ولا شي مركز لا غير ناس بحالنا بحالكم في الانترنت ديسايدوا مع بعضياتهم وطوروا لنا هاد Traumacore which is a way to cope and heal people that are victims of trauma. Am I right?
Now, before I pass to Abdelil, I want to state briefly her point of view regarding how Traumacore can help in expressing, overcoming trauma, and your original idea. So then Abdelil can express his disagreement or agreement or whatever he thinks towards the topic.
So, Traumacore is a way to express yourself when you don't have the normal ways to do so. Like, there aren't available. It's a form of art, whether it's by pictures, by drawings, paintings, songs, stories, anything. It's still a way to, it's an art therapy, a way to cope with trauma and all. And personally, I think it's a very helping mechanism because I myself have, when I was like young or in any time or any moment in my life when I couldn't like talk freely, I would grab a pen and a paper and I would draw something. I don't care if it turned out bad, as I usually do. I wouldn't care. All I would care about is the process of it, because that process will make me calm and forget about that bad experience. Although it does have a lot of its dangers, especially since it's an internet theme. It's not like a normal theme, it's an internet, and we all know internet is a very dangerous place. But still, it's a helping mechanism.
Yeah, well, I do think that you're kind of right in what you're saying, but will be only because I have done it too. I have drawn, I have made music, I have done many things as expressing yourself. But rather, Traumacore isn't only drawing. Traumacore is kind of romanticized. I don't know how to say the word, but romanticized. Okay, you just said the word. Well, what she said of the art or how you actually draw something, which is my problem because when you glorify something like that, when you actually return to it and come back to it again and again and again, it doesn't really help you, but rather reminds you of the trauma that you are, of the things that you've gone through, rather than just leaving it behind and moving on. That's what my problem is with expressing, as in expressions. Because if you keep coming to something, for example, if there is a snake that bit you, right? And I'm sure some of you may heard it on TikTok or maybe Instagram, I don't know. If there is a snake that bit you, and instead of going away or seeking treatment, you go back to it, yeah? And you explain why did it do that to you. Does that seem logical to you?
Abdul Jalil, I completely agree with you, but let me ask a question. What if you still live with your abuser? What if you cannot voice out your opinion? You cannot defend yourself. You cannot express. You cannot take that trauma out of you.
Before he answers, just a point here. What Ella is saying is beyond Traumacore. She's saying, look, you have been dramatized or a victim of trauma, right? And you are not done with the trauma. You are still in it.
Yeah.
What she's saying is that while you are still with your abuser, like living with under those harsh conditions, with that snake you are talking about, you are still with it. How can you, like, Traumacore is like a way that you can help you survive, cope with the living under the trauma thing. Yes.
It doesn't.
Sorry. Yes.
Before any.
Yeah.
Before
Let me
any.
add something here very good. This is a big philosophy.
Yes.
This is Dostoevsky. This is Jalaluddin Rumi. If you know, for example, Jalaluddin Rumi, عندما يقول الألم. You cannot escape pain unless you stick with pain and analyze it and to know why you are feeling pain.
Yeah.
Dostoevsky said you have to leave, to migrate, to run away from pain in order to get pain. You have pain, for example, in Fatima, you should change the city, you go to somewhere else. But for Jalaluddin Rumi, it's like here, Traumacore. You have to understand your pain, to get it out of your, what you call, it's incepted.
Yeah, that's actually logical. But I'm saying
this is a journey within.
you can't romanticize the word.
Romanticize.
Romanticize.
You can't glorify it. You can't glorify it.
When it comes to expressing yourself عندما نتحدث عن الفن والجمالية، الجمالية هي عندما القارئ هو الذي يحكم على الجمالية. ثم واش كتقراو؟ واش كتبات شنو كتب جلال عبد الجليل ولا آلاء على تروماكور؟ Then it's up to you whether you see some aesthetic there ولا ماشي aesthetic. For you, you express yourself. The reader can get the aesthetics. غيشوف تعابير زوينة، غيشوف مصطلحات انتقائية، غيشوف الشكل etc etc.
You mean as in
like a briefing, so we can pass to the next thing. So Ala's point is clear. Okay, you know what she's defending. She's defending of the healing mechanism, which is a Traumacore, because you are still powerless and you still have to go through the trauma. You have to live with the abuser or live under those conditions.
And this is powerless out loud. If you have the ability to go back, this is power.
Yeah.
Even it's powerless.
Yeah. But the person is still, the victim is still in the trauma, right?
Whether it is mentally, psychologically, or physically.
Or physical. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, which is the thing is, maybe I've got something wrong because I did do only a brief research. I didn't know about this before we talked about it.
Is that an excuse?
No, it's not an excuse. I'm just saying, as in, if I didn't understand enough. But in my point of view, this seems unlogical because if you are in pain, if you are somebody who actually like expresses your pain in kind of art and singing, maybe drawing, maybe anything that makes you feel better. It is a cool thing. It is actually good. But revisiting that thing after you're done, that's what I'm saying. That was my actual point. Because I didn't think that you were saying that you are with the person, but rather you're done with them. Because if you're done and you're still revisiting the same thing, it only brings you back. Right? So, in my opinion, because you said like, when you are with them, when you are with the person who is abusing you, you can't do much.
Why is it always like you are with him? With him or with her? Her can be
I don't know. Look, he's gender fluid.
Whatever, him or her, both. With them.
No, I'm not gonna call them. It's not like multiple people.
Like a lot of them, like not.
Yeah, which is kind of. To be honest, I do get what you're saying because our society considers men to be the awfulest things.
Yes.
Yeah, well, no, which is
good.
You just gotta not listen to those people because they just. The only thing that gets to my mind is why do you call men like that they are the bad kind of fruit of society while maybe like 2, 3, 10, even if it's 100 people that hurt you, what about the thousands and thousands of people that you walk by on the streets? What did they do to you? What did those men do to you that you call them bad? What did those men actually hurt you? Did they hurt you? Did they actually?
Another topic, right?
Yeah, this is another topic.
Going back to the feminism topic.
Yes, please slow down.
Because feminism doesn't.
Traumacore is just one way. What about the other ways? For me, I think all of you know the black singer, the one that was that talked black, right? Black. We use the word black, right?
Black?
This mic is black.
Yeah.
Okay? This thing is
I
green.
do think dark.
Okay. His name, the rapper.
Gen Z.
No.
Jay-Z.
No, Jay-Z? No, not Jay-Z.
Diddy.
No, not Diddy. No, not Diddy parties. No, come on. Yes? Huh? No, he's still alive.
Can you give us any clue?
No. The one there is being now كل شيء كيهاجموا دابا في الإعلام since he said something.
KSI.
Huh?
KSI.
No. Drake, thank you.
What did he do?
Drake he made واحد he did واحد الانترفيو. المهم نهار اللي بدا كيعبر على الآراء ديالو في الميديا في السوشيال ميديا حتى واحد ما قبلو، حتى البلاتفورم الكبار بداو كياتاكيوه حيت هو اتاكا اليهود بزاف وحتى البلاك بيبل كوميونيتي اتاكاهم. قال واحد الهضره قاسحه ولكن انا صراحه عجبتني. قال لك slavery العبوديه لمده قرنين، يعني هاد الناس عامين هما صابرين السليفري. قال لك for me it seems like it's a choice.
Yeah.
بحال دوك البلاك people back then like they loved ديك العبوديه, they wanted to stay in there. My same understanding to what Drake said about that goes to this Traumacore thing. Why should I stay with my abuser?
Yeah.
Why should I run to aesthetic, imaginary, listening, writing, and still live under the trauma?
But also, I think she says that you can't leave. You are unable to leave. If your abuser is older, if they have a
Okay, let's try to hear from the outside. There, yes.
If you're a child, your abuser is, let's say, like your mom got married and he's a stepdad and he abuses you. You're a child. How can you run away?
Yeah.
You don't know.
If you go to, let's say, an orphanage, or you go to an orphanage, let's say, who knows? Maybe you're gonna get treated worse. Maybe you're gonna get like double the abuse. And like sometimes you're too young. You don't
The
understand.
child doesn't know what is happening.
Or even if you can leave, or even if you can defend yourself, even if you can defend yourself, you're scared. That's what I said. Traumacore is a way to cope with trauma, whether you are trapped physically, as Inaya said, or mentally, or psychologically, which is you can leave, but you can't, like, you're scared, or yeah.
Okay.
I do think it glorifies it a lot.
Guys,
You say something? Next.
You said that trauma romanticizes or glorifies Traumacore romanticizes trauma, but before that I said, sorry, I feel like I'm fighting. Traumacore is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable because, as I said, the product doesn't matter. The process itself is what matters actually. You see?
Mm-hmm.
You see it as a way that romanticizes trauma, but for a person who creates it, it's a way for them to cope, because I think personally, I don't know if it's right, cope is like, it's not a healing way.
cope هو التعامل بنجاح. Deal effectively with something.
Yeah, it's not a way to heal, but it still deals with it. You deal with it. You don't heal, but you deal with it. So Traumacore, or these products, those traumatized people, traumatized people, they don't care about the product. They care about the process of it, the process of making it. That process is their way of coping with trauma.
I stop you there. Abjalil, you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yes, 2 minutes max. So I wanna hear from
I
you.
want you to answer me briefly so I can be clear on where you stand. Do you say that Traumacore is necessary when you're in the type of relationship, or is it also okay when you're out of that relationship?
What I'm saying is Traumacore is one of the many ways to cope with.
No, I'm saying as in Traumacore. Is it? Do you say that it's okay to do Traumacore after you have been traumatized, after you're done being traumatized?
If the person is healed, I don't see why.
No, not healed. I'm saying as in they're done with that relationship. They're still traumatized, but do you think it's okay to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why?
Yeah.
Because it
Because
doesn't...
as I said, if you're trapped mentally.
Let me say something. Traumacore, at least after that you're done with your relationship, your abusive relationship, it isn't really effective. There is way more things that you could deal with them, not with money, not with anything else, by facing it yourself, by actually addressing the problem, actually knowing why. And even if you think that speaking to yourself makes you seem crazy, it doesn't really, because you're addressing a problem to the most important person, which is you. You're the one who's talking to yourself. You're the one who knows yourself the best. So once you talk to yourself and you reason with yourself and you know where you're going and you address those traumas and you tell yourself that these don't matter. Why? Because, as I say, I've searched this actually, and it isn't a quote. Maybe I've got it from some kind of movie, but now I claim it. It's my quote. In a game of knowledge, the one with the most information always wins. So you have experienced something that nobody else, or at least there is a kind of majority of people that may not have experienced it.
So
There is some kind of people that-
instead of going with Traumacore as a healing mechanism,
Yeah.
in
It's
order
not
to
healing.
overcome, it's not healing. It's
No.
a process. The
No,
process
it's
is
not process. It's just a way to cool. It's not healing. You don't heal from it. You just
You don't heal. That's what.
wait,
that's my problem.
wait. Yes. You don't
So-
heal from it. You.
It's a way to, you know, those mental breakdowns when suddenly they break down or they run away. The Traumacore products are ways for them to like, so they don't break down. Because sometimes, I know.
Okay. There we go. Thank you. This is what ELA stands for. What defense?
Traumacore is for those negative emotions, those negative things. They don't. ما كيتجمعوش على بعضياتهم حتى تطيح.
Let's go.
Okay. Like I said, if I have like a bad experience or something like I can deal with, and I try to like write a book and like express myself in it and share it to the world, it can go against me. It can go with me. It depends on people, how they think, how they get my idea. Like they can get against me, like I said. It's not always positive, just like that.
Can I? Actually, as a person who has trauma, I tried both ways, and I see that the realistic way is the most one who affect me better because I tried like drawing and writing, and it doesn't help me at all.
I think that it depends on the person, but it's a coping mechanism, but it's not necessarily a healthy one. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works, but I think you will just keep going back to it. I agree with Abdul Jalil about because some people will just romanticize it. I personally saw so many people romanticize it when I started searching for it, and it's like they see it as an aesthetic. It's not an aesthetic. You shouldn't just keep holding on to that, even though it's a coping mechanism. It's not really a good one. It's not a healthy one, personally.
Thank you.
So I also agree with the realistic way because sometimes when like something happened to you, a trauma, that trauma core is itself makes you traumatized because you see your old self in that trauma core, so you remember a lot of things. So in the contrary, the realistic way just makes you heal yourself. You deal with yourself. You watch yourself and you see what was wrong in that moment, and like that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Personally, I saw Traumacore as a cure of trauma, and is a way for expressing myself, and also it's helped people to feel less alone with connecting with people has the similar struggle, and it's a way to express myself with creativity and aesthetic things. That's it, my opinion.